you had a service card. And if they needed people in service, you got drafted. And I didn't want to go in the Army. And I was just at the age, I was back then at that time was more or less one or the other. The war just started, so you didn't know how long it was gonna go. So I joined the Navy because I didn't want to be in the Army.
So somebody asked him, how come he didn't want to be in the Army? Travis.
Why didn't you want to be in the Army?
Well, the reason I didn't want to be in the Army, with the Navy, I was aboard ship, and I had 3 meals a day, and I had a bunk to sleep in. In the Army, you could be sleeping out on the ground, you could be in a tent, you could be eating rations, so I figured that was a better choice.
We could take a question, Anne Marie, while Kyle's writing, then he'll be ready for another one.
The Navy is where you go on water, and war where you fight people on land.
Okay, got another one, Kyle?
Were you still serving when the war ended?
Yes. It ended about, I'm thinking now, I gotta see, it was 1950 it started, and it ended in 54.
On July 27th.
So 53 there.
I think.
4 years.
You know what, boys and girls, I know you guys are looking up at the screen and they see 1953. And sometimes the Navy or the Army, the war may have ended, the rulers, like our president or their emperor, I'm not sure what it would have been, would have decided that the war had ended, but the troops don't often come home right away.
There's still troops over there.
Really,
All the way
today.
along the 38th parallel. Oh yeah, there's thousands of troops over there.
I did not know that.
Because
So
the
go
war-
to the picture of the map again.
Because that was a agreement to stop shooting at one another. The war is still not ended. In other words, to the extent there's never been a declaration of ending the war. So that's why they call it the
Forgotten War.
Forgotten War. Because it actually, we are still guarding that line, just like we were before. But a ceasefire is that they just ain't shooting at one another. There's never been a declaration of ending the war in Korea. The rest of them have all had a declaration of ending the war.
So, I think, I don't know if you have this down, Kyle, if you want to jump to it, I could ask him which side did we support, North or South Korea? I think you had maybe had that down. Can tell he's a very good note taker.
Yeah, it seems that way. He's
Yes.
right there.
He's got it. While Kyle finishes up writing, could you explain to the children which side of Korea, North or South, that we are trying to protect? What are we trying to keep out of North or South Korea? Because they maybe aren't quite sure.
Well, the South Korea, that's this below the 38th parallel here. This is South Korea. And this is North Korea here. And that, well, see, China's in there too, behind there. But what we are doing right now is guarding this line here so they don't come over. And they're guarding their, well, we ain't gonna come over, but I mean, they're along there. They got a lot of troops along there too. When, during the time that I was in with the ship, we used to, I'm trying to see where Wonsan is. It's gotta be down here someplace.
It might have a different, if she hits the map right above it, Bella, try that map number 4. Gavin, you got that? I don't know if that's,
Oh, here we go.
there you go.
Well, it was down in here, whoops, excuse me. It was down in here, it's where we patrolled, and at night, we used to patrol all the way up to the Manchurian border. We would do shore bombarding up here with railroad tracks, because they used to bring their supplies in down to the 38th, where is it, 30? Well,
About halfway through there.
about
yeah.
here, yeah. And they used to, the railroad used to bring the supplies down to these, here in the South, or North Korea. So what we did was we shore bombarded at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, those railroad tracks. And then by morning again, we were back down in Wonsan Harbor. We did that for maybe 8, 9 months. Just about every night we'd be going up and make that trip.
Why would that be so important, third graders, do you think, to have them bombard the railroad tracks or to try to break up the railroad tracks? Why would that be important?
The North Korea couldn't get any more supplies.
That's right. In other words, couldn't get them down to where their people were fighting.
Okay, Kyle, you ready for your next question?
I just
Okay, somebody ask a different question while Kyle's writing.
like maybe another if you another reason you could have guarded the railroad tracks is let's say one of the North Korean men like snuck in the railroad tracks and they're like snuck in a train car and they tried to come down to South Korea.
Well, the railroad didn't go into South Korea. They didn't cross the 38th parallel because they were supplying the North. Maybe you understand what I'm referring to? Your fighting was not up here. The fighting was down at the 38th parallel. And what they would do is bring their supplies down. Now, at one time, during that time, the North Korean troops had got way down to, someplace in here. And they would, the railroad, they were coming down and bringing supplies to them down here until we got them back to the 38th parallel. That must be about right here.
Bella?
Hold on like that, 'cause I want to know where that is.
Oh, where that is on the big world map? Sure.
Your turn.
And you know what, boys and girls, I'm gonna point to it now, and at the very end, we can take a little closer peek. Okay, so we've got Korea over right here. So we've been talking about James. His family came from the Philippines. He's always mentioning the Philippines. And we're talking about China and Japan, and then there's North and South Korea right here. It's like a little peninsula. It's almost like Florida. Florida's like a peninsula. And so off of Asia, we have North and South Korea. It'd be like if you took Florida and you cut it in half. And so it's right here. And the other side of the world, if we go this way, what island that belongs to the United States are we going to end up running into? Say it. Hawaii, right? You guys remember, we talked about that a long time ago. But remember, this is one big round circle. So this is actually really close over here. Okay, Kyle, ready for your next question?
Was it hard to adjust to the place you lived when you came back home after the war?
Well, it didn't take me long to go back to get to civilian life. I got back on a weekend, and on Monday I went to Laddish. I went to Laddish before I went in. They reported I was back, and Tuesday I went back to work. And at that time, the reason, during the time I was in service, I got married. And when I got back, I had a son. So we had to feed him. So there wasn't much changeover as far as coming back. You went pretty well into civilian life. See, back then, when you went into service, you were guaranteed your job when you came back. That's what's different today. I don't know when that was changed, but the servicemen had a job, their job when they came back, and their seniority, the 40 years added on to the years they had before. So we didn't have that worry about coming back and not having a job. So it was a little bit different.
Did you get married right before you left for the service?
I was in the service. I was overseas, I came back from overseas. The first time I went overseas, when I came back, is when I got married. So I was about, I had in about, well, close to 2 years. Yeah,
And had you met your wife before you left
oh yeah,
then? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Kyle, you ready for another question? Okay.
Do you remember what you were doing when the war ended?
Let's see, the ceasefire was, in fact, we were, at the time, we were along the coast of Korea, and the word came across that it was a ceasefire. I was in Korea at the time.
Did you have, was it kind of a quiet moment on the ship when you heard that, or were people
Well-
cheering, or?
No, I mean, it was quite, well, actually, I don't think we really, believe it as far as that goes. Because there was other times that they were saying, yeah, there's gonna be, this meeting between the two sides went on for months. So we were never sure what was going on. And when they did say it, I mean, we really didn't believe it at first until an official deal really come up, and then we weren't sure.
You want to explain this on the way back?
Oh.
What that's called?
Yeah, on the way back, the ship went out in the start of the war,